Stop! It's not just about the mouse. Behind all rodent control lies an invisible threat: biological risk. Any trap, whether it's snap, electronic, or live, exposes you to major risks. This includes zoonoses like Hantavirus and Salmonellosis, as well as parasites and contaminated aerosols. Knowing the actual pros and cons of these three types of devices is absolutely vital for your health safety. We reveal the truth now. The biological threat has been established. But how exactly do you choose the right trapping device to minimize that health risk? This is the core question you face. Expert guidance from universities and specialized organizations insists that the choice between snap, electronic, and live traps cannot be random. Every method must be strategically incorporated within a comprehensive integrated pest management program, prioritizing essential steps like exclusion and sanitation before any lethal method is deployed. Once lethal control becomes necessary, your decision must be absolutely strategic, resting on three non-negotiable pillars. First, verified sanitary safety. Second, the trap's proven efficacy against your specific infestation. And third, your personal willingness to handle either the devices or the captured animals. Only by carefully weighing these three factors, you can move forward with confidence. Now that we've established the strategic pillars for your decision, we will explore how each of the three primary types of mouse control devices performs in real-world scenarios, helping you make the most informed decision. We will also introduce specific best practices for each type. Let's begin with the most traditional and widely used solution: snap traps. Snap traps remain one of the most commonly used options, and their popularity is based on two compelling reasons: their high efficacy and their ease of use, making them very inexpensive and widely available. When this type of device is correctly calibrated and strategically placed along the known runways and feeding areas of the mice, it can achieve a rapid and immediate elimination of the rodent. Furthermore, because it is entirely mechanical, it requires no power source, making it highly reliable in indoor locations. However, the disadvantages of snap traps represent critical issues that cannot be ignored. The primary functional flaw is that if the spring mechanism's sensitivity is not calibrated correctly, the trap is likely to fail and can result in the mouse being only injured, increasing animal suffering and creating a source of disease vectors, as the wounded rodent can disperse contaminants such as blood while escaping. This failure is critical. A failed activation, or the simple fact that mice detect the odor of blood on traps previously used and not thoroughly cleaned, may contribute to what we call trap shyness. The surviving mice become conditioned to avoid the device, making future trapping attempts exponentially more difficult. Therefore, proper cleaning and maintenance are essential. Furthermore, due to the aggressive nature of the spring, placement is crucial. Snap traps must be strictly placed out of reach of young children or domestic pets to prevent accidental injury. Moving on to a more modern lethal control option, let's consider electronic traps. Electronic traps are widely viewed as the most significant modernization of lethal control. They are specifically designed to eliminate the mouse using a controlled, high-voltage electric shock, which is intended to cause a virtually instantaneous and humane death, often in less than a second. Their main technical advantage is a high immediate mortality rate, which significantly reduces the suffering of the animal and virtually eliminates those difficult cases where the mouse is merely injured but escapes. But their greatest benefit lies in sanitary safety. Because there is no mechanical impact or blunt force trauma, there is less dispersion of bodily fluids. Nonetheless, the risks are concentrated on the technical and electrical factors. Because these devices carry an inherent electrical and fire risk, you must only use certified equipment. This means verifying that the product meets recognized electrical safety standards, such as those verified by Underwriters Laboratories or Canadian Standards Association. Using uncertified electronics introduces unnecessary hazards into your environment. Furthermore, regular maintenance is absolutely vital for safe and effective operation. You must constantly check the status of the batteries or plugs to prevent short circuits and ensure the high-voltage capability remains reliable when you need it most. Finally, if your priority is the non-lethal route, we must analyze live traps. Live traps offer one major compelling advantage: they capture the mouse without killing it. This naturally satisfies those individuals who seek a strictly non-lethal option. However, this is precisely where the choice becomes most complex and where the primary challenges begin. The first major inconvenience is the requirement for constant attention. They must be checked every 1 to 3 days, at minimum, to prevent the mouse from dying inside the device from stress, dehydration, or starvation. This mandatory monitoring places a direct time burden on the resident. However, the second and most complex challenge is the final disposal of the live animal. This issue presents multiple layers of risk and regulatory compliance. You must know that in many jurisdictions, it is strictly prohibited to release captured mice in other areas for critical sanitary and ecological reasons. Authorities are concerned with preventing the spread of zoonotic diseases and protecting native ecosystems from invasive pests. This legal constraint forces the resident to take additional, challenging steps. You must be prepared to face the complex and often difficult task of investigating and complying with all local regulations on how to dispose of the captured animals. This may include the necessity of applying a form of humane euthanasia. The ethical burden and the complexity of local laws make the live trap the riskiest option for a resident who is unprepared for this level of responsibility. In summary, when focused on your strategic choice, consider the trade-offs we have detailed. Lethal traps, snap or electronic, are the first recommended option for indoor use, based on their efficacy and controlled disposal procedures. If you choose the electronic option, the safety verification of the unit remains a non-negotiable requirement. Live traps are only a secondary alternative, and only if you are fully prepared to handle the complex regulatory and ethical challenge of the animal's final disposal, which includes investigating the legal requirements for euthanasia or disposal in your specific area. Finally, we must always consider the resident's willingness. If you are either unable or unwilling to manipulate any trapping device or handle the captured animals, whether dead or alive, the safest, simplest, and most practical alternative is always to hire a professional pest control service. A certified professional will handle the entire process according to biosecurity norms and local regulations. With this strategic and practical information, you should be in a better position to conduct or supervise effective and safe mice control.